Story 1. Any cash advance place is, in my opinion, predatory lending, where individuals in need get quick cash at a very high cost. The entire business model is to take people struggling with money and drain them with fees and interest. Story 2. From Australia, basically every college that teaches international students here. I have many friends who are international students living on a tight budget. These colleges leverage students' visa and immigration status while constantly exploiting them for more money. Here are some things I have witnessed personally. Teachers often do not show up to classes, and when they do, they just play a video and use their phones. These classes cost over $10,000 per year. The school will cancel a class and require re-registration for the same class at an additional cost of $1,000 per year. I have seen this happen twice in the last 12 months. The law has provisions for students to return to their home country for medical reasons or family emergencies. This is supposed to be a simple free form submitted to the government to inform them of the absence for less than 30 days and allow re-entry. Some of my friends recently lost family members in the Brazil floods. Their schools waited until they were out of the country and then charged them a $2,000 fee to complete the government form required to return to Australia, where they left all of their belongings. The students are too afraid to complain to government bodies because the school has the power to cancel their visa or enrollment at any time. I do not have a heavy heart toward immigration overall, but what is occurring with colleges in Australia resembles organized crime. Story 3. Wells Fargo. Although it can be difficult to determine if they are simply incompetent, my experience with them as part of my father's estate was the worst I have ever encountered. It was a nightmare. The only time I lost my temper with a company was with one of their representatives. They often appear in the news for unethical and illegal actions, yet they never seem to learn. The level of arrogance this ineffective company continues to show is infuriating. I hope for its downfall. Story 4. Any company that purchases a significant number of houses and outbids average everyday people is forming a monopoly on housing and harming the American dream for young adults. Story 5. Basically, all fast fashion companies, including Shein and Temu, contribute to the problem. I would also argue that the majority of factory farming and animal agriculture is unethical. Obvious ones like Nestle have already been mentioned. Story 6. Large technology companies that know your activities and who you engage in them with use this private information to generate profit. Despite this, many individuals enthusiastically install cameras and microphones in their homes. Story 7. Cargill is one of the most controversial companies globally. Here is a list of some of the things Cargill has done. Deforestation of the Amazon and Borneo rainforests, displacement of indigenous people, use of slave and child labor, selling mercury-contaminated grain, contributing to air and water pollution, and engaging in tax evasion. You may have heard of Nestle buying cocoa farmed with child labor, but what you might not know is that Cargill was the supplier. Cargill is also the largest privately owned company in the United States, which reduces its need for transparency and accountability. Story 8. Kroger has been acquiring as many grocery store chains as possible. Every grocery store chain in my town, despite having different names, is owned by them or will be soon. This kind of monopoly over food access and pricing is detrimental. Antitrust enforcement needs to break them up quickly, but it appears the government will just allow it to continue as usual. Story 9. Every bottled water company is misleading you in some way. Many bottle the same water that comes from a tap. Your bottled water is not unique. You are contributing to companies earning billions on a vital necessity. Story 10. Not enough people seem to discuss how insidious the automotive industry is. Our cities were demolished to promote car sales. Story 11. Dollar General appears on every corner in underserved areas and claims to assist working-class individuals without access to vehicles. It's a total scam. They advertise lower prices but raise them at the register while keeping shelf displays unchanged. The stores are purposefully understaffed to save money for themselves. This is disappointing. Story 12. All the health insurance schemes. Have you ever noticed how many brand new sports complexes bear the name of your health insurance company? Those companies are doing the most good with your premiums by creating tax write-offs while you are being overcharged every month. Even if your employer pays the premiums, you're still not getting a good deal. Your premiums are part of your salary, but many Americans do not perceive it that way. Insurance operates like any other gambling institution. The house always wins. Story 13. Meatpacking companies treat their workers poorly, hiring children for jobs that are clearly unsuitable for them. There is rampant animal abuse and neglect, along with multiple instances of diseases found in food that are not typical for meat. Additionally, there is deforestation and the release of chemicals into the atmosphere. There are many issues to discuss, but I do not have time to provide a lengthy account. Story 14. Insurance companies are forcing homeowners to make changes to their houses or risk losing coverage. Health insurance companies are using artificial intelligence to deny medical coverage, while hospitals are using insurance as an excuse to raise prices for uninsured individuals. Story 15. Facebook is likely the only major company complicit in the genocide in Myanmar. They did nothing and allowed the perpetrators to coordinate their actions on the platform. Additionally, Facebook shows no respect for the privacy of individuals who are not users and will readily sell that data. They have been caught multiple times. Story 16. You would be appalled at how prevalent slavery is in 2024. Additionally, all baby formula companies are incredibly harmful. Story 17. One company that does not always receive the attention it deserves for its unethical practices is Palantir Technologies. Although it may not be as widely discussed as some other companies, Palantir has been involved in controversial areas that raise ethical concerns. Palantir provides data analytics and surveillance software, which has been used by various government agencies. Its technology has faced criticism for facilitating mass surveillance and aiding in immigration enforcement, including deportations. This raises concerns about privacy, civil liberties, and the ethical implications of using such technology for these purposes. Additionally, Palantir's opaque business practices and the secretive nature of its contracts with government agencies have raised questions about transparency and accountability. Its involvement in sensitive areas of government surveillance and data analysis makes it a company worthy of closer scrutiny. These issues make Palantir a notable example of a company with potentially harmful practices that does not always receive the level of public scrutiny it deserves. Story 18. Cigarette companies kill 6 million people a year in a painful way for profit. That is as many as died in the Holocaust. Every year, people suffer from a horrible addiction. I see others recommending those stocks frequently without considering the harm they cause. Story 19. Any credit card company ever. I'm sure you're just a few keystrokes away from telling me what amazing cashback deals or other perks you have received thanks to them. Think about it, please. These companies add a layer between you and the business you are actually dealing with. They employ people who need to be paid. They have infrastructure that must be built and maintained. All of this costs money, which they obtain from the businesses selling products. They then have to factor this cost into their prices. In the end, everyone is paying for a service that technically wouldn't even have to exist for anything to function. Bank-issued debit cards prove this. A small minority that invests more time and shares more personal information than they should may be able to game the system in their favor. If we removed credit cards entirely, basically no one would notice they are gone, and saving money would be equalized across everyone. They are a relic from times when banks could not handle a more direct system themselves. And if you ask me, they should just fade away. They serve no other purpose than sustaining their own existence while offering nothing of value to the greater public anymore. Story 20. Johnson & Johnson. I used to work in the healthcare supply industry for a company that negotiated contracts with all the major medical and surgical manufacturers, including Johnson & Johnson. Whenever a smaller company introduced a new or innovative product that competed with something Johnson & Johnson produced, they would acquire that company. This allowed them to dominate the market for that type of product, usually a medical device such as a coronary stent or orthopedic implant, and they would promptly increase the price. Another example is their disposable contact lenses. They manufacture both monthly and daily use lenses. They heavily promoted the daily use contacts, which naturally cost significantly more when they first launched. However, they were exposed on a news program and had to admit that the daily and monthly contacts were exactly the same product. The only difference was in their marketing. So, you could purchase a 1-month supply of daily use contacts for $50 and spread them out over 30 months if you replace them monthly. Alternatively, if you followed Johnson & Johnson's marketing strategy, that 30-month supply of daily use contacts would cost you $1,500 or 2,900% more. Story 21. Citizens Bank, a company that ran extremely outdated software, caused several issues for people I know. Personally, my student loans were doubled, resulting in me being charged double my monthly payment. This continued for 5 months until I filed multiple complaints with the Better Business Bureau and spoke with an unreliable lawyer. It is also possible that many employees of the company are neurodivergent. Story 22. I think they are often discussed, but Archer Daniels Midland has built a significant food supply operation. They have a track record of being difficult to work with. Story 23. London Energy, Now or On Energy, Glencore, Eurasia Group, ByteDance, Dark Matter and related companies. Most Indonesian palm oil and mining companies. Story 24. Monsanto, now part of Bayer, has been known for products that harm the environment and its inhabitants, such as DDT and Agent Orange. Story 25. ExxonMobil knew about the effects of climate change long before anyone else after conducting internal research. Instead of acknowledging this, they misled the public about it. Currently, the CEO is blaming customers for the effects of climate change. Story 26. One company that often flies under the radar when it comes to unethical practices is Nestlé. Despite being a household name for their food and beverage products, Nestlé has been involved in numerous controversies that raise serious ethical concerns. One of the most notorious issues is their aggressive marketing of infant formula in developing countries. They have been accused of undermining breastfeeding by promoting formula as a superior alternative, which has led to severe health consequences in areas where clean water and proper sanitation are not always available. Nestlé has also faced criticism for its water extraction practices. They have been accused of exploiting water resources in local communities, particularly in areas facing drought, and selling it for profit. This has raised significant concerns about water scarcity and environmental sustainability. Furthermore, the company has been linked to child labor in its cocoa supply chain. Despite pledges to address these issues, reports indicate that child labor continues to be a problem in the production of its chocolate products. These are just a few examples of why many consider Nestlé to be an unethical company that doesn't get enough attention for its practices. Story 27. I would argue that the ones right under our noses are the ones we don't talk enough about. They are so ubiquitous that people just forget. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Amazon, Uber, Meta. People just can't handle the fact that they support such horrible organizations every single day, so we pretend we don't know. It's actually insane. Story 28. I work for Vodafone, and in my country, we break many laws. I can't share too much because of my contract, but in my legal job, I encounter a lot of illegal activities. Story 29. Private equity entered the home healthcare sector. The registered nurse or home healthcare worker who visits your mother faces various challenges. Not only from your mother. Story 30. Bayer conducted human trials on hundreds of Jewish women, directly approved by the Nazis during World War II. This is a disturbing part of history. Story 31. Cargill runs the commodities market and is one of the largest private companies. Over 50% of most agricultural products in the world go through them in some shape or form. Story 32. Nestlé exploits natural resources by extracting water and reselling it. The company pressured South American coffee bean farmers to switch their crops for instant coffee, leading to ongoing economic hardship. There are also concerns regarding labor practices related to chocolate production. Story 33. Uber Eats, Menulog, DoorDash, Deliveroo. These platforms exploit restaurants, drivers, and customers alike. I pay more for my food, the restaurant receives less, the delivery driver is expected to rely on tips, and the app owners profit from everyone else's efforts. Anything that encourages the gig economy is detrimental. I miss the days when the person delivering your food worked for the restaurant from which you ordered, and they were compensated through the delivery fee. Story 34. The large food corporations in the United States are using ingredients banned in other civilized countries. No one in politics appears to be interested in stopping them. Additionally, there are hedge funds purchasing single-family homes. Story 35. Nestle is a widely discussed company, but the conversation is still lacking. Most quick oil and lube shops can be very tough on their employees and offer low wages. Amazon treats its employees poorly. Story 36. Twitter has become a divisive platform, and I choose to boycott anyone who advertises there, except for adult entertainers and high-end escorts. Story 37. The military-industrial complex and power companies are problematic. We know they are harmful, but their actions are unacceptable. The amount of technology they withhold from the public to protect their profits is astonishing. We are debating fossil fuels versus solar and wind energy, while they possess advanced technologies that could eliminate the need for any of those resources. Story 38. Many large home developers are not building with the buyer in mind. They are constructing the cheapest houses as close together as possible, creating traffic congestion for everyone, while they and their shareholders benefit. Story 39. Nestle child and slave labor, infant milk marketing practices, water rights, Chiquita, United Fruit, murder, coup d'état, Halliburton war profiteering, coup d'état. Story 40. Online gambling and loan sharking companies, both offline and online. Story 41. Pretty much every company here is included. It is full of companies fined billions of dollars since 2000. Story 42. Edward Jones Investments. I worked for 3 firms during my career, and Edward Jones was easily the worst place for a client to invest. They train their brokers to only sell funds that provide kickbacks. They celebrate brokers who earn the most commissions on their clients. In fact, they send out a monthly list ranking everyone, and in 15 years, I never once saw them discuss ranking us by how our clients fared with our recommendations. They don't even keep track of it. I was a top producer before leaving for Raymond James, where I found much better platforms to invest with and an emphasis on genuinely making clients money instead of just charging them fees. Don't let your grandmother be on her own with Edward Jones. There are better options for sure. Story 43. Nearly every multimillion-dollar company struggles to survive and succeed without ambition and integrity. Story 44. CVS makes their pharmacists work unpaid off the clock, and if they refuse, they risk being demoted to the night shift or reassigned to stores up to 50 miles away. Walk into any CVS, and their pharmacists often appear exhausted. Story 45. Almost every major company that existed during the World Wars has engaged in questionable activities. There is a channel on Facebook that discusses some of these. Story 46. Express Scripts pretends to negotiate lower drug prices for insurance companies and employers, but in reality, they retain the profits and charge high prices for themselves and the pharmaceutical companies. Story 47. Patagonia is constantly focused on the environment and treats its employees well. The owner has never sold out to corporate interests. Their products are a bit pricier, but they last a long time. This company has impacted customers' wallets significantly. I have walked into a retail store to browse and ended up spending over $100 on Patagonia items. I truly cannot express enough positive things about such a charitable company. Story 48. Large U.S. healthcare systems and insurance lack cost transparency and financial filings. Prices continue to rise, and the common response to affordability is, we need better coverage. How about increase cost transparency and reduce pay gaps in the industry instead? Story 49. Quaker Oats. They reportedly added radiation to the oatmeal of mentally ill individuals in psychiatric hospitals in the past to observe its effects on the body. Story 50. Everyone on Madison Avenue has the entire job of successfully tricking your brain into making you behave the way the people who pay them want you to, often resulting in unwise choices that hurt your future. Story 51. Sweet Baby Incorporated is threatening the entertainment industry with cancel culture if they do not pay for their advisory services of $7 million to implement diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. This situation is leading to failures in the industry while blaming the audience for not enjoying content that focuses more on lecturing than providing entertainment. Story 52. Comcast doesn't fool anyone by calling it Xfinity, Nestle, any hospital organization, and all insurance companies. The broader the brush, the better. Story 53. Google and Apple do not take care of their users or customers. None of the technology companies truly prioritize this, but they are among the worst. I want to create something better that genuinely cares for people and users. By prioritizing the needs of customers, you can become the best in the world. Focusing solely on saving money and prioritizing profits over customers is short-sighted. While I'm not sure if it's evil, it certainly reflects a sense of greed. Story 54. Bayer invented diacetylmorphine in 1898 and marketed it as a non-addictive alternative to morphine under the brand name heroin. When you call heroin by its name, you are using a pharmaceutical company's brand for a street drug. Bayer invented phenobarbital in 1912 under the brand name Luminal. In 1925, Bayer became part of IG Farben, a German conglomerate formed from the merger of 6 chemical companies. As part of IG Farben, Bayer utilized forced labor from concentration camps and produced Zyklon B for use in gas chambers. In 1940, at a clinic in Ansbach, Germany, around 50 intellectually disabled children were injected with luminal and killed. Luminal was used in the Nazi children's euthanasia program until at least 1943. As of 2018, Bayer is the sole owner of the company Monsanto. Consider this before you purchase a packet of brand name Aleve or Cane's 10. Story 55. The Hershey Company sources chocolate unethically, contributing to a blemish on American culture. Story 56. Purdue Pharma utilized social media influencers to encourage doctors in rural areas to prescribe opioids to their patients. Story 57. I had the opportunity to sit through some courtroom cases recently. These were mostly misdemeanor crimes, and I had no interest in anyone in the room, so I was fairly unbiased while observing. What stood out to me the most was the cycle of petty crimes over which people spend time in jail. Individuals were treated like cattle. The judge recited some pre-memorized statements about rights. Then people were taken away or released with significant fines to pay and probation to monitor them. Everything felt robotic and mechanical. We truly undermine the lives of poor people. Our court system is deeply flawed. Story 58. BlackRock owns several companies that buy single-family homes and rent them out, artificially raising housing and rental prices. Story 59. Eli Lilly and Novo with the Ozempic trend. People need to realize it's not too difficult to eat salads and go for a walk to lose weight. Story 60. Nestle, Bayer, or any private equity firm that acquires healthcare companies, then cuts operations and raises prices. Story 61. Buy here, pay here car sales. Story 62. The ones behind this project. Story 63. ACME Incorporated supplies animals with military-grade weapons and explosives to plant them as improvised explosive devices on domestic roads. Story 64. I don't know about evil, but I will never forget nor forgive Gillette for that horrible anti-man commercial they ran a few years ago. I bought an electric razor after that. Story 65. I believe that every successful business has some dark story behind it. I bet Disney has covert agents to protect or steal corporate secrets. Story 66. The commercial genetic modification organizations create modified grain that cannot be regrown from the produced seeds. Story 67. There are no unethical companies that achieve long-term success and national reach. People will abandon companies that do not serve their needs. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.